Shalom. Keep going in and out. I guess that piggyback. I guess I'll piggyback on where the brother left off, right? So the question is, what's the reason that Christianity would want everyone to believe that Christ coming back is a beautiful day, that it's all wonderful, and why would they just focus? What's the reason for them focusing strictly on the kingdom and what happens for the kingdom? But yet they refuse to focus on what it would take to get to the kingdom. There's a 7-year roundup and 7-year death in the earth, and only a few is going to make it into this kingdom that Christ is bringing. But why did they meticulously focus on the kingdom and not the death and destruction that's coming with Christ? Why? Huh? Well, yes, it's an open-ended question. All those reasons. But one key reason is the people that are over our society are psychologists. They're psychologists. In order to get the masses to go with their program, they have to allow the masses, or make the masses feel that everything is okay. It's psychology. It's rough to get slaves to serve in the kingdom if they realize that, this kingdom is for a few and only a very few might make it. It's easy to have them follow Christianity if you tell them that just be a good person, everything is going to be all right, and when you die you go to heaven. That's a simple psychology. So what they wanted to do, they wanted to make the masses feel that it's a minimal thing to get to the kingdom of heaven. It's small. Just be a good person and everything will be okay. Follow your government because God set us up. And if you be a good slave, you'll go to heaven and you'll be with Christ. That's the doctrine. It's very simple, but it's elementary and juvenile. In order for them to have taught this particular doctrine, they first had the masses believe that they shouldn't go into the Old Testament at all. Don't go into the Old Testament. It's too much. That God you do too much killing. So there's no way they could have taught this doctrine or upheld that doctrine at all and have people read the Old Testament. Too much killing. All right? Then they just skipped right over Christ's writings. Okay? They didn't teach Christ. All right? If you taught Christ, you would understand that he was a threat from the day he was born. The government wanted him dead. Why? It was prophesied that he would one day bring this bloodshed that was written of in the prophets. That he would one day become king. In order for him to become king, all the kings during his time would need to die. And that's some of the content that was brought before the council to make the governments go against Christ and kill an innocent man. So they didn't believe that he was just this guy that would, with a lily in his mouth or a flower in his mouth, holding hands, and was going to participate with all governments. That the governments didn't believe that then, and they don't believe that now. Okay? They're preparing out in space for a second coming. That's what they're preparing for. This whole thing with aliens and all this, these space programs and Star Trek and all that, They just put all those things out there so that people wouldn't question their hard-earned tax money going out into an abyss or out into space. Like, what are you doing out there? Are we going to find life? We're going to see if there's some water on Mars. Yeah, right. You're going to put weapons up to fight. You know who's coming. That's what you're going up there for. You don't spend trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars to go find water. And you got a lot of water here. Okay? You got much H2O here. We're trying to see if there's life on other planets. No. You know there's life coming. Christ is coming. Alright? Now, I'm going to go into something and give some understanding through the Spirit of the Most High this evening. It's going to be quick, precise, to the point. I'm going to go into the misunderstanding of Paul's writings. The misunderstanding of Paul's writings. And I'm going to go into this because instead of the Christian church using Christ's words and Christ's life as the basis of his doctrine, the doctrine that he gave Peter, what they did was they switched the doctrine and they based their entire teachings and their entire doctrines off of the misunderstanding of Paul's writings. First of all, no doctrine was supposed to be established on Paul's writings. That's number one. The doctrine had to be established under Christ and Christ's words only. That's number one. Not that Paul's writings are incorrect. Paul's writings had a specific purpose to run churches. It was for the learned. It was too high knowledge for people to base a doctrine on. And if you notice, all Christians today are learned or taught to fight Christ's words with Paul's. They're taught to use Paul's writings against Christ. That's what they're taught. Why? We're going to show you why. Even though, if you understand Paul, him and Christ were on one accord. But that's if you first stand with Christ's writings and filters Paul's writings through Christ instead of doing it the other way around. Y'all understand? What they do is they go to Paul to give understanding on Christ. Incorrect. You're supposed to go to Christ to give understanding on Paul's writings, not the other way around. The Christian church purposely set up the church of Paul, or the misunderstanding of Paul's writings, so that there can be a fight within the circles of those who believe. And there is no fight at all if you understand. Let's first start off with Christ's writings. Oh, hold on one second. Okay, I'm going to put this out there for those that are listening out there. We did this as a courtesy for those that are out there listening or learning. We really wanted to hold the classes just for Tuesday for you all, but we're doing this as a courtesy. If you cannot hold your comments until the end, you will be banned. Thank you. Let's go to Christ's writings. Now, mind you, if you add anything or take away anything from Christ's writings, you shall be taken out of the book of life. That's in Revelations. So let's get some understanding. Go to St. John 14 and 6 first, and then Matthew 5 and 17. This is all Christ.